Jenga is not a difficult game, and that's a bummer. All you do is take a wooden block and put it on the top. So what we did was add 100 Jenga factions. So what do we mean by this? Well, a faction would be a group of people, and that group has their own special ability. So player 1 and player 2 would each have their own way that they could play Jenga. But how does a game as simple as Jenga get to 100 factions? Well, the job was not easy. So let me show you how we did this. Every faction has a type. It's the trigger that allows its ability to happen. There's ongoing, track, completed level, pull, and turn start. We'll explain those as we go. Starting with 1 through 18. We're gonna break this up into sections of 18 because on a sheet of paper, you can fit 9 cards. And at the end of this video, we're going to allow everyone to be able to print and play with these 100 factions in Jenga. Let's begin. First, we see some of my favorite ones from the whole batch. The saboteurs that allow you to secretly mark one of the blocks. And if your opponent ever pulls it, then now they have to pull 5 extra blocks. There's the investors who put blocks to the side, and then at any point in the game, you can force your opponent to put all of those blocks on top of the tower. Then, my brother's favorite one, the Indiana Jones cosplayers, where you have to remove a block and replace it with a separate block. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Jenga. Now you may have noticed that not all of these factions are going to be competitive with each other, but we added a star to the corner of all the cards that we thought were pretty balanced and fair. The rest are pretty silly. In this category, we're introduced to Tracked, which you track by rotating your faction card. So you can rotate it up to 4 times to show how many times you've used this ability in the game. The big boss is you may force your opponent to pull an extra block in a turn. And it's +1 for every time you have used this ability. So the first time you use this ability, they pull 1 extra block, but then the 4th time you use this ability, they would pull 4 extra blocks. A couple other standouts are the Pancake Salesman and the Scavengers. The Scavengers being a little mini game that you get to play where at the beginning of the game, your opponent hides 3 of your blocks. Then at any point in the game, you can choose to put on a 3-minute timer and try and find one of those blocks. If you do, you get to skip your turn. And the Pancake Salesman, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, it's no fun for really anyone. Make a pancake every time you complete a level. Wow. 36 factions and it already looks like we're running out of ideas, but we're not, because as this goes, you'll see that the creative juices begin to flow even stronger. Some of the ideas that are coming up are the best ones yet. Also, I'm not sure who else out there is making factions for a game that no one wanted factions for, but we are trying to get to 5,000 subs by the end of the year, so if you can help out in any way you can, that'd be awesome. Or not, that's fine, because you have your own life and you can do whatever you want. Going all the way to 54 in this next batch of 18, we've got some pretty interesting ones. In fact, we have the Slippery Gang. If you can slide the entire tower a block's length, you don't even have to pull a block this turn, and you can do that every single turn. There's also some references to things that you might know in here. There is the thumbs. At the start of your turn, you may have a thumb war. If you win, you don't pull. If you lose, you pull 2. There's the giraffes. Instead of stacking on the top level, you place blocks on your head. If you can get 10 on your head, you actually win the entire game. But if they fall, you must place all of those blocks on the tower. We're getting pretty deep in Jenga blocks now. And our next group of 18 involve a couple standouts. Lion turtle. If you don't know what lion turtles are, then you had a sad childhood. If you can lift the tower up a block's vertical height, then you don't have to go this turn. But then we have a nice one, and to balance it out, we have kind of a mean one. The competitive complimenters. Give your opponent a sincere compliment before your turn. If they blush or laugh, you skip your turn. On the other end of the spectrum, the roast masters. At the start of your turn, roast your opponent. If they flinch or retaliate, they pull 2 blocks. Don't roast them too hard or you might set the tower on fire, cause it's made of wood. Woo, 72, that's a lot of factions, but guess what? You can have all of these factions yourself. They're all going to be on our Patreon, so feel free to check it out in the description, and let's see what else we got. We are up to 90 Jenga factions now, and my brain began to hurt, so I called on the help of some of my friends. And here are some of my favorite ones that they created. Tower Thief. During your opponent's turn, you may secretly remove a block from the tower. If your opponent doesn't notice, they have to take another turn, which honestly is one of the coolest factions in the entire game. To have to wait during your opponent's turn and secretly try and pull out a Jenga block without them noticing is so, I like it. I like it a lot. There's also the turncoats, where at the start of your turn, you may choose someone who is not your opponent in the room to do your turn for you. The Fashionistas allows you to add another article of clothing to your opponent after a level is completed. You could give them a lot of clothes and cause them to have heat stroke. You could make them look very fashionable. You could do the heat stroke thing, but don't make it too hot because then the tower might catch on fire because it's wood. Here's a pro tip for you out there. If you have 90 factions in Jenga, just shuffle them up and deal a random one to each player. And that's a pretty fun way to play Jenga with 100 factions. We're heading up to 99 factions now, one away. And in this batch of just 9 that we're showing you is the duct tape enthusiasts. You can only remove blocks with duct tape. Kind of interesting, might be good, might be bad, depends how you use it, depends if you're good. The Game Masters. 4 times per game, you may challenge your opponent to a different game. And if you win, then they pull 3 extra blocks. Because maybe the best way to play Jenga is to not even play Jenga. One of my favorite ones, the Winter Soldiers. If you can get someone not in the game to say a trigger word that you and your opponent made up at the beginning of the game, after you hear it, one of you must knock over the tower, and whoever knocks it over first wins the game of Jenga. Meaning, you can play Jenga without ever having to pull a single block. You just place up a tower, and then throughout the party that you're at, you and your opponent are just trying to get someone to say a certain word. And then you won Jenga. 99 factions, 1 left. But here's what we noticed. When you put 9 cards onto 1 piece of paper, that leaves you with 99 perfect, clean sheets of paper, each with 9 factions on them. Meaning the 100th faction would be all alone on his own piece of paper. And we're not about that. Jenga is about coming together. So what we did was not make 100 factions in Jenga. We made sure that that was an entire sheet of paper, and we made 108 factions in Jenga. In case you're a longtime viewer of ours, you might have noticed that the original 7 Jenga factions that we made a couple months ago have not been in this list. That's right, we've been working on this for a while. And that original 7 was all competitive. The Frost Giants, the Con Artists, the Gamblers, the Descendants, who after pulling a block may place them vertically in a stack to the side. And if that tower ever falls, then you lose the game. But even with those 7, that leaves us with 2 final factions. Faction number 107, the Dads. At the start of your turn, tell a dad joke. If anyone laughs, you don't have to pull. We leave the Multipotentalites as the final 108th Jenga faction. Every time a level is completed, you change your faction, giving you access to all 108 Jenga factions. Your opponent has no clue what you're going to do, but you do, because you're gonna have a whole lot of fun. So how do you yourself play with all 108 factions? Well, you can go to our Patreon in the description below. A third of these are gonna be completely for free. Another third of these will be for 1st tier, then the last third is going to be for 2nd tier patrons, and then if you're a 3rd tier patron, we love you. So subscribe and tell us what game we should give 100 factions to next. So we did it. We did it all. We made 100 Jenga factions. See you later.